Hello folks, Scourge T89 here with my playthrough of Blazing Lazers for the TurboGrafx 16. So let's get started, shall we? What can I say? This game brings back a lot of memories for me when I first bought it in 1989. It has many power-ups, excellent graphics, and was specifically designed for the TurboGrafx 16 by Hudson Soft to show what the system can do at the time. And it was way ahead of its time. State-of-the-art graphics that many 16-bit systems did share, like the Genesis, but the TurboGrafx was unique because it displayed so many colors on screen. And huge graphics. As you can see in the background here, has many different layers, multi-scrolling and everything else. What you want to do here is just build up your various power-ups by collecting the same number. In this case I have number 3, the lightning laser. And here we have the homing laser with the letter F. It's a good weapon, but it leaves you completely vulnerable to attack. But if you want to stick with it, keep building it up with number 3. And here we've come to my personal favorite sub-weapon, the homing missile, which you'll probably see a lot in this game. It's especially at its best with number 1. One of my personal favorites. It may be a basic weapon, but once you get it at full strength, you're practically unstoppable. The missile's not at its maximum just yet, but what you need is 4 H homing missile symbols to reach at the maximum. What you have here is number 4, known as the beam blaster. It's a good shield, but it still leaves you slightly vulnerable. It blocks some lasers, lots of small shots, but it also limits your missiles to 4. Again, it's a good distraction. But if you like this weapon, I recommend that you get it with the letter F right there. The letter F will give you multiple balls that will come out of the beam blaster, which is pretty effective, but it's not as effective as the homing missile. When I first fought this sub-boss, it was kind of difficult. Now it's as easy as pie. Of course, this was 1989 after all. All a bunch of firsts. It's a slow-paced stage, but once it picks up, it's a lot of fun. Another multi-body there. Oh, and the purple gels. They also build up your power. The more you collect, the more powerful you'll become. Always pick up your homing missiles, because the more you get, the faster it'll get and more powerful they'll become. Can't stress that enough. Another purple gel. Another homing missile. Increase speed. Then you'll see how effective they are. Another thing I like about this game is the music itself. Some of the best tracks available for this game are on Stage 1, Stage 3, Stage 4, and Stage 5. We'll get to those later, in later parts of the playthrough. What I just collected there was the multi-come-in. At least that's what we used to call it back 23 years ago. Every time you collect one of those things, you'll be able to literally reappear on stage. If you notice that your players, basically your ships that have 4 lives, every time you collect one of those gels, you'll be able to literally collect another come-in. So that way you don't start at a checkpoint. You literally start where you left off or where you died, which basically I will not be doing here. But it's a very important feature for those who simply don't want to come back at the checkpoint, because once you die, you start way back in the stage, and it's very irritating. Believe me. As I said, even though it's a good shield, it still leaves you vulnerable. And unfortunately, the opposite is true with the shield. It's a really good shield, but it only lasts a good 15 minutes, maybe 20 at most. And then it fades on its own. Now we're coming up to the first boss. One of the easiest bosses. No challenge. Of course, when you have maximum missiles, you can't really go wrong. Now on stage 2. Stage 2 is your typical second level, but it's not really particularly interesting. It's very slow, very basic. Well, the graphics are great, but I consider it one of the easier levels out there. I mean, once you get the hang of the first level, which was very intense, the second level kind of slows the game down. Collect whatever power-ups you can, especially the purple gels, and whatever number 1s you can get. But if you prefer number 4, number 3, I also recommend those too. Maximum Laser, or Lightning Laser as I call it, is a very good weapon, but not great. It has a terrible delay every time you shoot it. So if you're trying to be precise with your shots, it's not really a good weapon. Beam Blaster, on the other hand, as I said before, is a good weapon, but it only has a 4-point shield, and could still leave you vulnerable. Even though you have a regular shield with your basic shot, it just tells you the level of power that you do have. So you gotta watch your back. No matter what you do, you literally have to watch your back. Because even if you get hit, you lose that power, you're completely vulnerable, like any shooter. But as long as you collect your missiles, or whatever sub-weapon you prefer, multi-body, the letter F, or full fire as they call it, you should do well. Like I said, slow-paced. Oh, and every time you collect a sub-power-up, you get a bomb. Although I don't use bombs much in this playthrough, they're always good for emergencies. Of course, that's tradition. Bombs always serve as a last resort in case you can't handle a whole bunch of enemies on screen. I can tell you right now, that explosion was something new back in '89. And believe me, compared to the Nintendo, the sound effects were pretty good. But that was back in '89. How's this game hold up today? Still holds up. Still will play it every once in a while. For fun, to experiment with different weapons and so on, but this is my all-time favorite combination. The number 1 and the homing missile. Trust me, it gets more intense later. Especially in stages 5 and up. Oh, and here comes one of the easiest bosses in the game. At least to me, anyway. You have this if you have this weapon with this guy, oh, he is definitely no challenge. You'll see what I mean. Just do what I do here and he'll be no challenge. Back in the day, the lasers were unexpected. But all you gotta do is just stay behind them and boom. That's it. And now these things come out. On harder levels, they come out more often, but they're not much of a threat. Oh, number 2? That's more like a wave weapon. And not very intense, not impressive. But it's sort of a traditional weapon. Basically, Blazing Lazers, in my personal opinion, is part of the Big 6. All playthroughs you'll see later, as my series of playthroughs of the Blazing Lazers series, aka Star Soldier series, will continue on. But many of the weapons that you see here will appear in later games. There are times when I wish this game would actually speed up this stage would speed up a little, because honestly, it's probably the slowest stage of the entire game. So trust me, it does get better. It really does. You just got to work through it. Play through it. You got to play through the stage. No way to skip it. Well, there is a stage select, but where's the fun in that? Oh, just like the multiple numeral power-up, there's a multiple letter power-up as well. Once you shoot it enough times, turns into a gel, becomes another come-in. Only use those when you need it. Now here's the second stage boss. Back in the day, if you weren't careful and you got hit by his laser, boom, it didn't make a difference how much power you had. You were dead. So you got to be careful with that laser. But, as you can see, with homing missile and everything else, with number 1, you can still kick its butt. Well, that's it for this first part. I'll see you in the next playthrough. See you in part 2.